Hello and welcome. Today we will go over chapter 1, which is on business basics. In this chapter, we will mainly study what is profits and what are the differences between goods and services. We will also compare for profit and not for profit businesses and then go into what economists call factors of production. We'll also study how competition, social environment, globalization, and technical growth provide both challenges as well as opportunities for businesses. And then we'll go over four different types of businesses. And finally, we will consider how life skills translate to business environment. So let's start with asking a very basic question. What is business? So on this slide, you will see a formal definition of business, which are entities that offer products to their customers to earn a profit. So if I want to have a business, it is very essential that I create some kind of product. If there are no products, obviously we cannot have any business. So if I want to sell coffee, for example, in my business, then my product is that coffee. So we need to have a product that we can sell to a customer. So there has to be a customer who is interested in our product and they are ready to buy it so that we can profit from it. So naturally, the next question comes is what is profit? A very basic equation of any business is profits equal revenues minus expenses. So revenue is the money that we get as a business and expenses are the money that goes out. The money that goes out of the business can be in the form of salaries that we have to pay to our employees, or it could be machines that we buy, so those expenses, or even tax. Usually, when businesses are new and they are startups, their expenses are more and revenues are less. New businesses obviously have to purchase material, they have to hire people, so there are a lot of expenses, and it takes time before a business reaches a situation where they start to make profit. So nowadays, if you look at many successful companies that make a lot of profits, so one example comes to my mind is Apple. So Apple right now is more than $2 trillion company, and they became so huge because they generated a lot of profits through iPhone, iPads, or MacBooks. Similarly, there are several other businesses that are very profitable because their revenues are higher than the expenses. So when we talk about a business having a product, so these products can be classified mainly into two categories. So you may have one category where the product is goods and other category is services. So these goods are something which are tangible. For example, when I buy an iPhone, so it is something tangible. I can hold it in my hand. Similarly, cars are another products which are goods because they are tangible. You can see them, you can use them. When you buy books, books are tangible. So there are so many examples of tangible products. So on the other hand, when we talk about services, services are mainly intangible. So it's not that when you go for seeking a legal advice, you'll not find legal advices kept on a table that you can pick up in your hand and see them and so on. So services are mainly intangible. Haircut is another example of services. When you go to a restaurant and buy food, so there may be something tangible that you can see and touch, but then it also involves many other things like how was the service offered and whether the waiter was pleasant or not, whether smiling or not while serving you. So all those intangible things form part of services. It's difficult to say on a 100% basis that a company has all their products, 100% of them, goods or services. So usually it is some kind of continuum where a company may have majority of their offerings in the form of goods, but they also may have some small part which goes into services. So for example, a company selling a car, so car is a tangible product, but how is that sale process and the entire experience of it. So those also play a very important role in that product getting sold. Similarly, if you go to a restaurant, there may be smaller parts that are goods, and there may be a larger part of their processes which cater to services. Now, let's look at major differences between for profit and not for profit organizations. So, as the name indicates, a for profit organization, their main objective is to make profits. So, companies like Apple, Amazon, Target, or Walmart, so all these businesses, their main target is to maximize their profit. On the other hand, we have not for profit organizations where profit may not be the main goal, but they work towards meeting certain social, educational, or political goals. So, next, let's look at factors of production that are important part of any business. Some of the factors or variables that have a big impact on production are listed on this slide. Labor could involve physical effort by people who are working at that company or business and helping to create goods and services. Or it could be intellectual contribution that goes into production of goods and services. Natural resources are the raw material that we use for creating goods and services. For example, to build a house, we need land and we need so many other things that go towards making a house. Similarly, to produce a car, we need so many different types of raw materials. Now, coming to capital that are required for producing goods and services. So, capital can be broken into two different categories. One is real capital and other is financial capital. So, real capital refers to physical facilities that are used for producing goods and services. And financial capital refers to mainly money that is needed to produce goods and services, which could involve like loans, investments, fundraising, or it could be personal savings. Another important factor of production is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs are really important for any business because these are the people who are willing and ready to take risk. Although entrepreneurial talent is also a human resource and we may think that it can be put under labor, but what differentiates it from labor is that this person is willing and ready to take risk and also their ability to manage the business. Intellectual property refers to ideas and creative works in the form of patents, copyrights, and trademarks. There are many drug companies that own patents of certain very effective drugs that helps them to make profitable for a very long time. Similarly, there are many technology companies that have very specific patents that doesn't allow others to copy this intellectual property and recreate those products. So having intellectual property is very important for any business to make profits. Another important factor of production is technology. So having the latest technologies that make processes easier and less expensive to produce goods and services is always important. Now, competitions play a very important role for any business. So, competition arises when two or more businesses contend with one another to attract customers and gain advantage. So, for example, if you consider smartphone as a product, the two key competitors are Apple and Samsung. They always try to do better than each other, and ultimately, because of this competition, as a consumer or a customer, we are better off because we get better and better products. Competition forces businesses to improve their offerings. So, competition creates a situation where one business has to do better than their competitor to attract more customers and make more profit. It also makes some businesses develop strategies that are very, very specific. For example, Walmart competes on low prices. So they try to do various things to lower the price compared to other stores. And if there is something unique about a product of a business, then obviously they will try to aggressively promote those products and also their brand. And for businesses, keeping customers satisfied is always the topmost priority. For example, if I do not get good connection for my smartphone when I'm moving around, so I may switch from one service provider to another very easily. If I am a customer of AT&T, I may move to T-Mobile or Sprint or somebody else. So for every business, keeping customers satisfied is topmost priority. So businesses look for opportunities in a variety of situations, and nowadays social media is another platform that has created tremendous opportunities for businesses. So whether it is Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, so businesses cannot ignore these social media platforms, and they continually try to improve their image, improve customer relationship, and use this platform even to market their products. Similarly, employee empowerment nowadays is very important. So this allows an employee to solve some customer problem without seeking approval from the management. So for example, if you have purchased some product and due to whatever reason it has some issue and you want to return it, so most of the places they will not even ask a question. They will simply take it and either refund the entire money or give you a replacement. So that is possible only because of employee empowerment. So management has given instructions that when it comes to providing solutions to a customer related problem, then you don't seek our approval. So instead of that, simply solve the problem. So social environment also has a big impact on any business. So what is a social environment? So it is a combination of various connected things like race, ethnicity, gender, age, income, sexual orientation, political views, etc. And from time to time, some kind of social or political or economic movements create a situation that has a big impact on social environment. And businesses are always looking for these kind of opportunities from which they can be more profitable. So one example is aging population in US, which is already creating and likely to create in future lot of business opportunities. So for example, if you look at this chart is for people who are either 65 or more. And in 1990, we had about 30 million people who were 65 or above. And it is expected that by 2050, so this number is going to be closer to 80 million. So almost three times increase in a population of 65 plus people. If you look towards the right, those people who are 86 and above. So in 1990, that orange bar was very, very thin. So by 2050, the number of people with 86 or more years of age are likely to be about 20 million. So obviously this creates a lot of challenges for the government programs such as Social Security or Medicare, but it also provides a lot of new opportunities for businesses to provide various kinds of services that will be needed by this huge group of people. Another important aspect related to social environment that affect businesses is diversity. So diversity captures differences that occur due to gender, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or disability. This is something positive. So having people working in a company from diverse backgrounds obviously will bring a lot of new ideas and lead to better products and services. Another new trend that we see nowadays is the green economy, where businesses factor ecological concerns in their business decisions. There are also a lot of demand for new green products nowadays from customers. So all these trends contribute to social environment, and they also create a lot of interesting opportunities for businesses. Another important trend in business is globalization, which has made a world more interconnected and interdependent place. It has also given rise to many multinational companies, big companies that has presence all over the world. So you can think of companies like Amazon, Apple, Walmart, to name a few. Now, because of globalization, another term that has become very popular is offshoring. When companies find new places in world where they can create their products at a cheaper cost, so they make a business decision and move their manufacturing to that location so that they can provide their products cheaper and be more competitive. So you must have heard of a lot of manufacturing that used to occur in US has moved to China or Mexico or India because labor is less expensive there and they can get the work done at a lower cost. So this globalization is in a way a two-edged sword because it has some pluses but it also can have negative points. So if you think of benefits, if a company like Apple or Amazon or Microsoft can get their products built at a low cost, so they end up making more profits. So when they make more profits, so obviously that will help US economy. They may hire more people, they may do more ads and so on. But it also has a lot of risk. So the risk to US economy could involve the jobs moving from US to other countries like Mexico or China or Vietnam. Another important factor that has big impact on businesses is technological changes. The changes that are taking place in technology also bring a lot of challenges. So for example, if I buy several computers for my business, I cannot keep them for like 10 years because technology is changing so fast. So those computers will be obsolete much before 10 years. So I may have to keep on changing or upgrading them maybe every 2 years or every 3 years to catch up with the latest technological change. And many times a technological change might also lead to changes in the way my business operates. So these changes may require some extra effort on the part of the business, like providing training programs and making those new purchases, which could be expensive. But there are lots of benefits of these technological changes. One biggest benefit of technology that we see nowadays is increase in productivity. So using the computers and latest technology, nowadays we are able to complete certain things that might have taken several days to complete. So they have helped us to reduce cost, improve productivity, security, and also communications. So we are able to send email from one corner of the world to another corner of the world maybe in within few seconds. Another example that I remember is several years back when we used to get check in the mail, we had to go to the bank and deposit the check and come back. But nowadays we can just use our smartphone, scan the check, and we are done. Another big benefit that we see is that it allows for telecommuting. So people are able to work from home using the technologies that we have today. And this has become very, very handy in the days of COVID-19 and the pandemic that we see now. Without telecommuting, many more people would have lost their jobs. So teleconferencing is another big technology tool that has become very handy nowadays. So it helps to improve communication and avoid unnecessary travel cost. If you think of current business environment, you cannot ignore what is called e-commerce. So e-commerce can take different forms. It could be B2C, business to customer, it could be business to business, or it could be consumer to consumer. Business to consumer e-commerce is the most popular one, and we see that everywhere. For example, if you want to buy an electric car and go to Tesla's website, you'll be able to see all the details. And once you're convinced, you'll be able to click a button and buy your car. Similarly, if you are looking to buy some product at Amazon, you can easily go to amazon.com and search and compare, read reviews, and make your choice or make your decision and buy a product. So business to consumer e-commerce has become very, very popular and it is the hottest thing right now. But there's also e-commerce, which is business to business. So as a consumer, we may not be aware of that, but businesses, before they create their own goods and services, they may also buy and purchase some items from various suppliers through business to business e-commerce. Similarly, there are some platforms, some websites where you can buy things from another customer. So as a user, I can upload pictures of a product that I want to sell. Another customer who may be interested in that product and feels that the price is okay may be ready to buy this. So there are many customer to customer e-commerce platforms like that. But this significant growth in e-commerce has also raised a lot of issues involving online security and privacy. So for example, if you want to buy something from Amazon.com, you have to provide a lot of important details like your credit card information and your personal information. So it is the responsibility of businesses who collect such data to make sure that this data remains secure and somebody else is not able to break in and take all this information and create issues. So we looked at various aspects or trends related to business. Now let's look at types of businesses. First, let's look at how local and regional businesses differ. So as the name suggests, local business is something that caters to a very limited surrounding area. So for example, I live in a place called Dartmouth in Massachusetts. And if you come to Dartmouth, there is a restaurant called Dartmouth's Own. This is a unique restaurant that exists only in Dartmouth. If you go somewhere else, you'll not find this restaurant. So it's a local business in that sense. On the other hand, regional businesses, they serve a wider area. Still, both of these, local and regional, they are not still a national or international business. So what are the challenges these local and regional businesses face? So there are three key challenges that these local and regional businesses face. And first of them is managing money. So typically they have less funds, and managing those funds efficiently is very critical. So if they fail to do that, so these type of businesses can go bankrupt very easily. They also suffer the challenges of undercapitalization, especially if there is a recession, or for example during pandemic people are not going to local restaurants. So these kind of things can easily kill any local or regional business. So because of all these, controlling cost is very critical for these type of businesses, because if they are profitable, they still need to take care of taxes, they have insurance, health insurance of their employees, and so on. So third type of business is a national business, and these type of businesses have outlets throughout the country. So they are selling their products, which are goods and services, practically to entire country. So being a national business does not mean that there are no challenges. So they also have a lot of challenges, including balancing budgets and managing their finances efficiently. So if they do not do that, things can go wrong very quickly and generating profits may become very difficult. Now another challenge they face, which is different from local and regional businesses, is that they need to be aware of state laws in different states. So US has 50 states, and if a business has presence in all those 50 states, so they have to follow all the rules of every state where they are present. And another challenge is that because they are spread more widely throughout the country, so they have a much more complex supply chain. So a supply chain typically starts with the supplier, and then you have manufacturer where goods are produced, and then they are sent to wholesaler. From wholesaler it may go to a retailer like Walmart or Target, and then finally it goes to a consumer. So there is a long supply chain, and managing that long and complex supply chain becomes very important. The fourth type of business is a multinational business, and as the name indicates, these businesses provide goods and services to consumers throughout the world. And because of this vast spread that they have, So although it creates an opportunity for them to make more and more profits, but also it increases their complexity and also challenges that they have to face in so many different countries. So if they are present in several different countries, they have to follow the rules and laws of that country. And each country may have their own import and export laws or safety regulations, copyright and patent related things or laws. So all that has to be addressed. Another major challenge multinational companies face is cultural differences. So one example I can think of is when Walmart, which competes on low prices, so when they opened their store in Japan, so initially they had a lot of difficulty because Japanese people relate low prices with low quality. So it took them a lot of time to overcome this cultural difference or cultural challenge and be profitable. Other cultural differences could involve different working hours, different wage expectations, then there could be language barriers, and so on. Similarly, there could be some challenges because of economic differences. For example, cost of living in US could be very different from cost of living in Thailand or Vietnam or Sri Lanka or Pakistan. For example, when Apple sells iPhones, so they have no problems where cost of living is quite high, but those countries where cost of living is very low, where people cannot afford this expensive smartphone, Apple obviously has difficulties selling these products in those places. So businesses have to deal with different interest rates, different inflations, and different levels of economic development. So you heard about some concepts and some terminologies related to business. Now let's talk about taking business personally. So if I think of myself as a business, then how does it relate to me? So how do I receive funding? So let's say we are thinking about a student who is a freshman in a first year of a college, and that student may have a job, may not have a job. So if a student doesn't have a job, still that student is obviously receiving some funding to pay for the tuition, pay for the food, housing, and things like that. So that funding may be coming from a family member, or it could be a student loan from a bank, or it could be some kind of saving this student has done over the years. So to study at a college, this funding is needed. Similarly, all businesses need funding to operate. So what are your expenses? So expenses could be the rent that you may be paying for the house or a room that you are living in. It could be books. It could be tuition or fee that you are paying for the college. It could be clothes that you end up buying and things like that. So expenses are the money that is going out from you. So obviously you don't want your expenses to be more than the income that you have, the money that you have or money that you are getting. How does the social environment affect your life? So when you look around in your college, do you see a lot of diversity, people from like different countries, different backgrounds, different ethnicity, different languages in which they are proficient? And how do you work with them harmoniously? So social environment is another important thing that impacts any business. How does globalization affect your life? Let's say at your college you have a roommate who is from another country. So this roommate is from China and is not well versed with English yet and speaks a totally different language. Or let's say you go study abroad to study in another country and you hardly find any English newspaper, or all the programs that you see on TV are in totally different language. So how do you manage? How do you get the news? How do you basically survive in this environment where people are speaking different languages? How do you keep up with new technology? So I'm sure in your day-to-day life, you must be using some kind of technology. And when that technology becomes old, you also look for replacing it with the new one. So if you have a phone which is 3 years old or 4 years old, and you may feel that you need a new phone, so you have to spend some money and get that new technology that you might need for your work related activities or something related to your class and things like that. What sort of e-commerce do you use? So if you're a student and if you have to buy a book, there are different types of websites. So there are websites where you can purchase a totally brand new book, or you can buy used book, or you can rent a book, or you can get e-copy of a book. So there are so many different ways you can purchase. And let's say if you buy a new book, then you may use your e-commerce platform to sell it to another student in future. How do you keep your business secure? So if you are such a person who goes to so many different types of websites, maybe 10, 15 in a month, and purchases one thing from there, another thing from somewhere else, then obviously you are increasing some risk that your credit card, the information may get stolen and there could be some kind of difficulty. So there's another group of people who use credit card maybe only on one or two different websites, and they try to be safe. I've also seen some people when they use their laptop, they cover their camera. And the idea is that sometimes when you are typing your information, it could be credit card or it could be password. There is a risk that somebody is looking through the camera and getting your password or information and putting you at risk. So I have seen a lot of people, they cover their cameras when not in use. What type of financial goals do you have? Every person has some goal or the other. So many students have different types of financial goals. Some students they do not take student loans, so they try to cover all the expenses without taking a loan, so that when they graduate, they do not have any big loan to pay back. Some students aim to do internships and save some money before they graduate. So just like businesses, personally also we have some financial goals. So goals may change from time to time. Today we may have some goals, but after 5 years, our financial goals may be very different. So to summarize, in this chapter, we covered various business related concepts, very basic concepts, things like what is profit and what are the differences between goods and services, differences between for-profit and not-for-profit organizations. Then we also looked at various factors of production such as labor, capital, and so on. And then we talked about competition, social environment, globalization, technological growth. So these challenges and opportunities that businesses face. We also looked at four different type of businesses like local, regional, national, and multinational. And lastly, we try to relate businesses at a personal level.